This doesn't look much like fun to me. Sitting in the baking heat, watching amateur footballers on a pitch with a terrible view. Each to their own, I guess.
Hello and welcome to episode 17 of a Thai football podcast with me, a very jet-lagged Dale Farrington.
And me, Rob Bernard.
So we're going to start with some match reports, and you sent out an appeal last week for people going to T3 games in the absence of any T1 and T2 fixtures, and some have sent us reports, which is very satisfying.
It certainly is, yeah. We welcome it all the time. The more clubs that are covered as well, it's good. We get all-round coverage. I'm
really knocked out with the response to this. Now, the first report, he's not new to the show. He's been on before, but I think this is his first match report. So this is Marco, and he went to watch Royal Thai Air Force against Samut FC, and he sent us this report.
Thai Football Podcast Match Reports.
So yeah, just to set the scene for this one, I am at Tupatemi Stadium to watch a T3 Bangkok fixture between Royal Thai Air Force and Samut Prakan FC. I'm not expecting a classic game here, in all honesty. Neither side have won a game this season, and they're both currently in the bottom three. But you never know. I'm currently on a run of 54 games since I last saw a 0-0 draw, so I'm confident we'll get at least one goal, even if it's 0-0. And the whole trip is only going to cost me 16 baht, because it was 8 baht on the bus, 8 baht back. Free entry into the ground, so can't really complain, even if it's 0-0. Yeah, there's a little bit of English interest on either side. You've got a guy for Royal Thai Air Force, an English guy called Karam Idris, and for Samut Prakan, they've got an English Thai striker called Danai Smart, who I think is on loan from Bangkok United. I'm just walking down to the ground now. I can see the club shop over on the far side, so I'm just going to try and get a pre-match beer as well. And yeah, I shall be back at half-time. Half-time here at Tupatemi Stadium, and I wasn't expecting many goals, but we've had 3 already. We had 2 in the first 5 minutes, both for Air Force. The first goal came from a direct free kick, and the second was scored by English striker Karam Idris. He also had the ball in the net shortly after, but that was ruled out by an offside flag. Then Samut Prakan had a 10-15 minute spell where it looked like they might get back into the game. The English Thai striker I mentioned in the preview, Danai Smart, had 2 good chances. The first one he headed just wide, and the second one, the ball fell to his left foot and he was a bit off balance and he sliced the ball wide, and Samut Prakan were made to pay for those missed chances because Air Force added a third with the last kick of the half. Samut Prakan's eccentric goalkeeper Daniel Lucas was miles off his line. Play broke down, it fell to an Air Force player and he just smashed the ball in from about 40 yards and there was no one in the goal. So yeah, 3-0 at half time, and it's been a really good match, so hopefully more of the same in the second half. Half time 3-0 to Royal Thai Air Force. So yeah, I said at half-time that Samut Prakan's goalkeeper was a bit eccentric, and he's just been sent off once again. He's found himself miles outside the penalty area. Karam Idris knocked the ball past him, and he just stuck his hand out and handballed it and denied a clear goal-scoring opportunity. He didn't go off the field immediately. He had to be escorted off the field by one of his teammates, but he's finally making his way to the bench, and Samut Prakan are bringing on a goalkeeper. And yeah, they're 3-0 down and down to 10 men, so definitely an uphill task for them to get back into this one. Full time here from Tupatemi. It was Royal Thai Air Force 4, Samut Prakan FC 0. Following the red card incident, Air Force added a 4th goal. Number 14 swept the ball home from about 10-15 yards out. Got to give a shout out to Samut Prakan's standing goalkeeper, who made 3 or 4 fantastic saves. Yeah, so overall, good match, 4 goals, good entertainment, and it was definitely good value for money, and it was a good advert for T3 football.
So what did you make of that, Rob?
Good stuff, isn't it? And of course, the added attraction, if the game's terrible there, it's a great place to play and spot.
Hi, my name is Jamie and I'm listening to a Thai football podcast.
And the next one. Now, you can introduce this, Rob, because this is you. It wasn't a roving report, but you were at a match.
It was Sisaket United against Nakhon Ratchasima United on Saturday.
Thai football podcast. Match reports.
So So Dale, yes, this afternoon I find myself at Seasicket United against Nakhon Ratchasima United. T3 North East tie. The visitors drew the first game 0-0 against league newcomers Saranri Black Cats, but since then have plummeted downhill rapidly. They've only scored one goal and let a hatful in. On the other hand, the hosts this afternoon 0-0 in their opening game away to last season's champions Sarakam, and a 0-0 at home, as you heard on my roving report, against Raisi Salai. But since then they've banged the goals in. They're in form. I'm expecting lots of goals this afternoon, and I do fear for the visitors. Dale, it's wrong to predict what's going to happen, but if they're going to let goals in like that, Nakhon Ratchasima United are in for bother. A seemingly harmless free kick's just drifted in at the far post. The visitors, with a big Middle Eastern guy in goal who I probably saw for Nonthaburi City last season, looking at his stats, motionless. Somebody made a decoy at the near post, but still very stoppable. 1-0 after 10 minutes. 2-0 Seasicket, the big Brazilian, Danilo with the header at the back post. Marginally offside in our view, only by a few yards though. 2-0. Oh, I've never seen anything like it. Nearly half an hour gone. It should be 3-0, but how, I don't know. Complete shambles in the defence. Shambles in the Seasicket attack. The keeper and fullback collided. The Seasicket player put it in, and then the flag went up for offside. It really is a shambles out there at the moment. And I have to say, the Middle Eastern looking keeper is all at sea. Probably the Red Sea. 2-0. 3-0. I hope you've got a calculator back at the studio, Dale, because this lot is shambolic. The goalie's wearing an Argentinian shirt, and if he used his hands half as much as Maradona, he might have more luck. 3-0, 39 minutes on the clock. So as the teams go for their half-time oranges, it's 3-0, and now it's only 3, goodness knows. It's going to be a long second half ahead, one feels, for Nakhon Ratchasima United. The big goalie with number 99 on his back, he looks as though he's consumed a few of those over the years. I fear for him in the second half. 3-0 half-time. There's nearly an hour gone here in Seasicket. The friend next to me has summed it up perfectly. It's so bad it's comical. It really is. The visitors have just given the ball away on the edge of their own box. Free chance, and he's blasted it over the top. Big Danilo's gone off, puffing and panting. There's a footballer in that big guy, but he needs to get some timber off. Ironic for me to comment on that, but he's a pro footballer. Well, it's fair to say this game's petering out. There's only 12 minutes to go. The number 99, who has been flaky to say the least, has actually saved his first shot 12 minutes from the end. Still 3-0. So it's full time, and it's 3-0 at the end. And to be honest, that has done Nakhon Ratchasima United a real favour. It was niggly in the second half, horrible to watch. The home side had done the work in the first half. Second half, nothing to write home about. Good night from Seasicket, where it's 3-0 to Seasicket United.
And that sounds like you had a really good time at that game. Although we didn't get the goals you were promising us, though, in the second half.
I'll be honest, the second half was abysmal. They might as well have all gone home, saved ourselves some time. Nakhon Ratchasima was shocking, absolutely shocking. But yeah, a great day out. Met a new friend, had a great time. That's what it's all about. When you're sort of to T3, you know that you're not going to go and watch an El Clasico. So you've got to adapt accordingly. Make sure it's just a little part of your day.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you had a really good time, and it sounds like Marco had fun. Those were 2 Saturday games. These next reports we've got were from matches played on Sunday, and we had 3 people who all went to the same match. Now, you never get this on the BBC or on Sky Sports, but we don't follow the normal rules on this show. And we've got Clinton, who has provided a match report before, but he was joined by his friend Aidan, and it was Aidan's first T3 match. And straight after this game, he flew off to Hong Kong to watch a match there. So he's certainly getting about a bit. And the second one from the same game, which was Kasem Bundit against Inter Bangkok, was from Steve. And it was absolutely fabulous. Steve sent in this wonderful report. I think it's the first time he's ever done anything like this. Am I right?
Yeah.
So we'll play the 2 back-to-back now. So these are 3 people reporting on the same match.
Thai Football Podcast. Match Reports.
Good afternoon, listeners from Jason Withe University near Minbury, where I'm joined by my Australian friend Aidan, who's come along for his first ever Thai League 3 game. Today the meeting is between Jason Withe University, sitting second on the table in the Thai League 3 Bangkok region, meeting the 5th place Inter Bangkok. Aidan, what do you think so far?
Nice proper little ground, lovely community vibe, looking forward to it.
Indeed, so we just picked up a couple of souvenir shirts outside and 80 baht for a ticket. Very nice football specific stadium. Score predictions, we have no idea. I'll tell you what, the home team will keep up their winning streak, and I'll say a 2-0 win.
I'm going 3-1 to the home team.
All right, let's see what happens. Full time, 1-1 here at Jason Withe University. I do not even know where to begin explaining that second half. Aidan, maybe you could take us through it a little bit.
20 shots, 1 goal.
The domination of the home team was remarkable, and the fact they didn't win is robbery. I do not even know what Inter was trying to do in the second half. They were playing out from the back, but then just launching it to the same side of the pitch. The ball was just coming back every time. The home side, Jason Withe, had so many chances. They hit the bar, hit the post, cracking saves from the keeper, although some absolutely comical and shameful injuries, shall I say, from some of the Inter players to wind down the clock. And after the final whistle, one of the players running off in celebration, almost like a 4-0 win. Any final thoughts?
Cracking entertainment for 80 baht. Couldn't ask for much more, except for a win for the home team.
Yeah, good value out here at Jason Withe University. Highly recommend the stadium too. I don't think I've seen in Thai League 3 or the lower divisions a more passionate and loud crowd. It's really tightly packed and close to the field. So the final score here, Jason Withe University 1, Inter Bangkok 1.
Thai Football Podcast. Match Reports.
Well, we're just about to get underway. Jason Withe are playing in orange, Inter Bangkok are in green. Jason Withe are kicking from left to right towards the car park, and Inter Bangkok are kicking towards the road. The referee is just about to blow the whistle, and we're going to get started. It's a very hot day here. Can you believe it? Against the run of play, Inter Bangkok have taken the lead. A lovely run down the far wing, cut across, nobody was marking the man in the middle, slotted it straight home. That is the first time, 16 minutes, they've been in Jason Withe's half. 1-0 to Inter Bangkok against the run of play. Well, my half-time report is from the car park because they decided to play some very loud music. Some of the first half was very scrappy. Most of the possession was from Jason Withe, but they just didn't trouble the goalkeeper until the last 5 minutes. If anyone's going to score for Jason Withe, it's going to be one of the African players. They're very good, very skillful. And the poor old Jason Withe goalkeeper has only touched the ball 3 times. First time, picking it out of the goal. Second time, one that went over the fence. And the third time, a pass back. He's had nothing to do. There's not been a lot of goal mouth action, except for the last 5 minutes when Jason Withe really pushed forward. After the water break, the coach was shouting at them, and they sort of pulled the finger out. Well, we'll have to see how the second half goes. And I'd say there's a good crowd here today. The away fans are making a lot of noise, and I'd say there's between 300 and 350. Let's just hope the second half improves. 5 minutes second half. Jason Withe are really having a go for it now. There's been a couple of fouls, and 2 players have been booked for Jason Withe in the last 5 minutes. It's getting a bit niggly. What a brilliant goal. I thought if anyone was going to score, it was going to be him. And that was a great goal. Jason Withe didn't know they've got to go for it. They win this, they'll go top of the league. Can you believe it? The same players just had one cleared off the line. This is the resulting corner coming in now. Into the area. Foul on the goalkeeper. Get a lot more niggly as well. 3 players booked in the last 5 minutes. Jason Withe have been very unlucky not to score again. Had lots of chances. Hit the post, hit the bar, had a couple cleared off the line. They thoroughly deserve to win this. But I think we're heading for a draw. Unless something dramatic happens in the last few minutes. Winter added on time now. This could be their last chance. Last free kick maybe. Was it on ball? Was it handball? I don't think so. I'd be very surprised if we got that. Oh, it's back into the area. Oh, he's offside. He's offside. That could be the last thing. Well, what can I say about the day at Casablanca? I got dropped off on the main road, walked through the campus. The only thing about if you do come here, there's no alcohol because it's not allowed to be served on a university campus. There's a lovely cafe at the far side in the first building. The second building, there's lots of food and it's all based at student prices. And behind the stand, there's a shop called Lawson's. Snacks, sandwiches, toasties, anything you want you can get in there to eat. I would sum up the day with saying there's the positive and the negatives. I was surprised at the crowd. The ground's really improved. The negative, they really need to sort the tannoy system out. It was very bad. It surprised my ears didn't start bleeding. Lots of people around me were covering their ears. It echoes, it's too loud. If you ever come down Ronclau and you fancy a game at Casablanca, I would recommend it. 80 baht, friendly fans, and that's it from Casablanca. And I'm on my way home.
So they were brilliant, weren't they? Really good, really enjoyed those.
And it's good because they sort of tied in with what each other was saying, only there was a little bit more detail about the stuff that was missing off the other one, if you know what I mean. It worked really well.
It was really good to get all that, wasn't it? A good overall view of the game. And I think Steve's after some sponsorship, a nice little plug for Lawson's there. So if anybody from Lawson's is listening, just get in touch and we'll give you Steve's details. And I'm sure he'd be happy to plug you again. But that's fantastic. So thanks so much to Clinton, Aidan and Steve for those wonderful reports. And hopefully next time we'll get them to go to different games. Now, one of the highlights of the show is your roving report, Rob. But on Sunday, you did what I've been calling a reclining report. Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, I was fiddling around on the laptop seeing which game would be available on social media. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the clubs have their own Facebook page and do streaming, so you can watch a game even if you're stuck at home. So what I decided to do, I tried to find the best game that I knew nobody else was going to, and I ended up watching Udon United against Surin Kunchimol.
Rob's reclining report.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lam. Viewing in from afar, I recognise the stadium on TV. It's the Udon Thani campus of the Thailand Sports University, former home of Udon Thani FC. And Udon United have just gone 1-up after 4 minutes against Surin Kunchimol. I was undecided which game to view for a report. Fancied a bit of a car crash. Kunchimol was so bad the other week. And having seen Nakhon Ratchasima United last night, I wanted to compare and see how bad they really were. Anyway, 1-0 to the team in yellow and black, 5 minutes gone. Well, it's been coming, Dale. The Surin Kunchimol goal taking a real pepper in, the keeper pulling off a tremendous save a couple of minutes ago. We're in first half stoppage time and they've conceded a penalty. Udon, incidentally, if they win this game by 3 clear goals, will go above Sisaket United and into second place. Kunchimol still without a point, but they've not been bad, to be fair. They're giving it a good go. Certainly more footballing ability than the other strugglers from Nakhon Ratchasima yesterday. Salis de Souza sends the keeper the wrong way. The referee tootles his whistle. The players head off. Half-time 2-0 Udon United. 3-0 at Udon. 49 minutes on the clock. Big Salis again. He's a real menace, is the big fella. And this after Kunchimol went clean through and somebody blasted it high over the bar. His teammate couldn't believe it, head in his hands. Going to be a long afternoon for the boys in all white, one feels. 3-0, 50 minutes now on the clock. 4-0 in the 58th minute. Well, this'll take Udon second if the score remains the same. And they do look good. And I have to say, Kunchimol's heads are starting to drop. Udon are continuing to thrust forward. Yesterday, Sisaket could have got a bag full, and goal difference might come back to bite them later in the season. We'll have to see. 4-0, approaching the hour mark. 15 minutes to go at Udon, 5-0. Salas bags a hat-trick. Big score, they look a good side. Well done, the boys in white. They've grabbed one back. They've given it a go like they did when I saw them at Rice East Salai. They do play till the end. and in the right spirit. 5-1, about 12 minutes to go of normal time. It's 6-1, and Salas has got his fourth. There's still 7 minutes to go. Is he going off? I think he's going off as a sub, yeah. Letting a sub have a run, I don't blame him. He's done his work, 4 goals in a day. 6-1, Udon United. Good grief, it's raining goals in Udon Thani. 7-1, 4 minutes to go. Oh, sir, in Kunchimol are going to have a long bus ride home tonight. So that's the end of that. 7-1 the full-time score. They say the table doesn't lie, and Surin Kunchimol are obviously the bottom of the table for a reason. But there's something about their Corinthian approach to playing that I quite admire, poor though they are. Hope that they stay up. They're a decent watch. As for Udon United, very strong. I feel that the 2 playoff places will be between Udon United, Marsarakan and Sisaket United. So that rounds it off. 7-1, a home win.
Did you feel that you missed out by not going to the game, or was it nice to do something a bit different and record it from your front room?
I'd go to a game every day of the week if I could, but, you know, a bit limited up here. I've done my game for the week. It was nice to do something else. Yeah, and keep up with the scores at the other games at the same time. Probably easier in a way to report it that way, but nothing beats being there.
You were doing this concurrently, weren't you? You were sending me updates from the game you were watching on TV, and you were sending me updates that Steve was sending in, and you said it was just like being in the grandstand studio.
It was, yeah. I even got brought a cup of tea at one point, so it felt really like it.
We'll try and get some horse racing on next week, and also some wrestling like they used to do on World of Sport.
If I push me luck watching too many games, I'll be featuring in it.
No, I think we better not go into that, Rob.
Probably best not.
Okay, moving on. We've now got our 3 entries for the Have You Ever Met a Footballer in Real Life? First off, we've got Kevin Watkin, and this is Kevin's brush with fame. I met up with Nigel, the ex-Thai League football webmaster, and Matt Riley, author of This Parish, and we ended up in a bar with Rennie Desiree. Now, Rennie was the coach at Mung Tong for a long time. Matt had just helped Rennie get the manager's job at Chiang Mai. I remember him telling us a story about Chiang Mai's owner having a pet tiger wandering around in his backyard when they went up for the interview. Next up, we've got Gary Griffiths, a regular listener, and he says, I spotted Buriram United's Thai international goalkeeper, Siwarak Tesungnen, at KFC in Buriram. It looked like the spicy wings he was buying were too hot to handle.
They certainly were a few days later when he was in goal against Chonburi.
Oh, was this before that game?
It was.
That accounts for quite a lot then, doesn't it, I think?
Yeah.
And we'll finish up with Marco's weekly entry, and it's another goalkeeper story. I spotted the former Thailand number 1, Kawin Tamsachanan, in the Warwick store opposite Super Chalasai Stadium. He was there to pick up a package of freebies. The shot stopper was quickly recognised by myself and others, and he patiently posed for photographs and signed autographs. Well, that's good to hear. I've got a lot of time for Kawin, I must admit. He's a young man who's very committed. He went outside his comfort zone. He got to the top of his game. He tried himself abroad, and he's always been grounded, I think. A really nice guy. I hope he's got a future in the game as well, now he's stopped playing.
That's nice to hear, isn't it, of good guys who can take time out.
And talking of which, our interview this week is with Jason Withe. So this was me and Jason. We had a chat last week. Lots of interesting stories about the early days of the Thai League. So welcome along, Jason. How are you?
I'm very well. In sunny Dubai at the moment. It's just about 45 degrees, so it's a bit too hot, but hopefully cooling down in the next few weeks.
Thanks very much for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it, because you're someone, obviously, I have spoken to in the past, but I've always wanted to ask you a few questions about the early days of the Thai League, really, especially now as it's grown and it's kind of unrecognisable from those days.
Yeah, good, far away.
Okay, so you first came over in the late 90s?
My dad was with the national team. And when I came out in '98 to visit him, really, I just went for a holiday and got talking to one of the owners there. It was a guy called Brian McCarr, who was also heavily involved with the FA as well. And he was just telling me about his team, and conversation led to being offered a contract, which was a 2-year contract. And at the time, I was working for the English FA and the PFA in the UK, and kind of took it with a bit of pinch of salt. And anyway, contract arrived on the door when I went back to England, and I thought it was something I wanted to be a head coach. I just thought, well, yeah, I'll come over, I'll do it for 2 years, and I'll come back to the UK. And 2 years led to about 15 years abroad, so it was a good move in the end.
And you had quite a lot of success, didn't you, at Tero in those early years?
Yes, we did. I mean, my dad was doing quite well with the national team, so there was a lot of potential really with the players. I don't think they've done too well on the international stage, and in all honesty, I probably struggled in the first 3 or 4 months. I come over with this sort of attitude of, this is the way we do things, this is the way football's played in England, and this is the way I'll sort of present it. And I didn't really adapt to the culture. And then I realised very quickly, I need to adapt to the Thai mentality and the Thai culture. And it's something I sort of adapted with, the British mentality, and adapted with the Thai mentality. And it started to click there. The first year, we missed out in the championship on goal difference. And the second season, we were flying, really. I changed things around. I changed the formation, and we were flying. I think we lost 1 game all season and done really well. So it was a very enjoyable period. Worked with some great players in that time as well.
Can you name any of the players you were working with?
Warren Wood was our sort of captain. He was our leading, he was leading the line. There's a lot of those players have gone on to be coaches themselves now. But Warren Wood was my captain. We had Dussit, who's had a successful coaching career as well as a fullback. Sassam was there. We had some good international players. The remit was to win something, and they hadn't done that. And it was a bit of a blow missing out on the championship the first season, but as I said, we flew the second season, and the club sort of kicked on from there, really. Working with some good players, and there was a lot of them playing for my dad as well with the national team. So it was they were getting that sort of understanding of what we both wanted, really, because we both sort of had a very similar philosophy, really. So it was good for those players who played for myself and also the national team.
The Thai league at that time was very different to what it is now. What were your first impressions when you came?
Good players. I just think if I look at the quality of the players then and compare it to now, it's very much similar, to be honest with you. I think those players who played for me in the national team would still get in the national team and be playing with top teams. The only difference was the infrastructure. It was known as a sort of a Bangkok league as such, but all of those players come from the whole of Thailand, really. We were saying at the time, you need to make this a national league. You need to have that identity. The identity of the teams at the time was, we had Bangkok Bank. I mean, I went on to work for Bangkok Bank, but that was the team, was Bangkok Bank Football Club. We're saying it really needs an identity of an area, like, your Liverpools and your Manchesters and your Newcastles, and they didn't have that ready at the time. The idea was, well, we're the company, we're putting the money in, and we want the exposure, to have that name as Bangkok Bank or BEC Tero sort of entertainment. And, we were sort of saying you need to localise it and put these teams in different areas, and which they've done now. I look at the league now, and it was exactly what we were banging on about, really. So this is the way it needs to be, and you'll get local support in. And it took a while, but they've got there now, and it's nice to see that it's a strong league is what it is now.
It is, and I think it's always good to remind people, just how far the Thai league has come in such a short space of time. And what you were just saying then about, you were saying this is how it should be and be far more representative as the country as a whole. Even though you were saying that, did you ever envisage a time when that could have been the reality?
It was difficult. I think we wanted it sort of tomorrow, and I've worked in Thailand a number of years. It doesn't always happen tomorrow, and sometimes you have to suggest the idea for them to come up with the idea to then put it in place. But we wanted it to happen quite quickly, and it didn't happen quite quickly. It obviously took a number of years. And I think you look at sometimes the professionalism of things at the time. It was we were coming in, and you this is what time training is. You need to be there sort of half an hour before, and the professionalism sometimes it just wasn't there really. And it was a good example of that is Dussit, who he was a great player, played for the national team, played for myself, and has gone on to coaching. I mean, I wouldn't see Dussit, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You'd turn up on a Friday, and I'd say to him, "Sorry, you're not playing on Saturday." He was like, "Well, why, coach?" I said, "Well, we've done a lot of preparation Monday to Thursday, and you haven't been here." He was like, "Oh, right, okay." So, put him on the bench, and he'd come on, and he'd be sort of a game changer when it came on. But then the following week, he'd turn up on a Monday, and I wouldn't see him Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he'd turn up on Friday. I said, "I'm sorry, you're not playing on Saturday." He was like, "Well, why? I turned up this week." I went, "Well, yeah, you turned up for 2 days." So is that, trying to get that professionalism into some of the players was quite difficult. So it's nice again to see on that side of things that things have changed. We were introducing things on the sports science side of things, and the players. It was difficult to get them to buy into it. Now they're looking at on the worldwide stage. That's what players are doing. So yeah, we need to be doing the same. So I'm glad things have changed on that side of things.
I think most clubs now are at that stage, aren't they, where they are very professional in their approach. They are starting to look at stats and data and how players recover and diet and all these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a huge difference now. I mean, it hasn't taken over the game, but it's certainly something that you look at, and if it adds value, then I'm all for it really. And as I said, we were trying to sort of implement some of these things back in the day, and it was difficult to get the buy-in. But once people see that you're getting some success from it, then it started changing the mindset a little bit. It was great to just come into a completely different environment. I think we were certainly British coaches. We didn't travel. It was we play football here, and it was started here and we'll stay here type of thing. And it was just nice, and it was refreshing to see football in a different way. It was great to see a different culture. I've been lucky to work in different countries, in Singapore, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and it's lovely to see those different cultures. But I think you're always coming in with that foreign mindset of this is the way. My philosophy is, and it was built around that sort of British sort of style, but also adapting to the different cultures of the different countries I've worked in. You have to adapt all the time, really. So, but I really enjoyed the culture. I miss Thailand. I get over there as much as possible. There's always a desire to get back there. I'm constantly speaking to a few clubs, and if the right project came up, then I'd be quite interested in going back there. Really,
that's good to hear, because you did return with PTT, didn't you? In what was it, 2014?
It was, yeah. And then I went down to Songkhla. They were struggling in the Premier League at the time. I think it was 12 games, and they were bottom of the league. So I went down to Songkhla, and then I went to Nakhon Pathom, who are in the Premier League now. So at the time, we're in T2. So I had an enjoyable time there as well. So yes, worked with a few clubs there.
It would be nice to see you back, Jason. Anyway, I can't let you go without asking about Niall Quinn when he made his little cameo appearance for Tero. I think was it one game, 15 minutes?
I wasn't there at the time. But to be fair, I was at the game, but I wasn't there. I was actually coaching at Bangkok Bank at the time. And Brian, I was keeping in touch with Brian, and he was saying we've got this link up with Arsenal, which was good for the country to have that link up with the Premier League team. And I think it was he spoke to me about Niall coming in, and I was like, well, great, it's great exposure. And I was actually at the game. It came on, and fair dues to him, he threw himself in the deep end. I don't think he'd played for a while, and he was struggling a little bit with the heat, the humidity. I think as we both know, I think it takes a little bit of time, certainly on the sporting side, to get used to that humidity. And he just sort of threw himself in there. He must have lost so much weight through fluids, but no, I mean, fair dues to he threw himself in there and done quite well.
I think it's one of the great stories from the early days of Thai football for me, that, and I think there's a film script in there, isn't there?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, I could bore you endless with some of the stories and the shenanigans that went on. I'll give you a quick one. I remember my first game. We were playing at Regiment Gala, which was they were sort of doing it as a big opener, and I'd done all my preparation. I'd got my team sorted. We'd done all the tactics, and it was about 40 minutes before kickoff. I could see all the staff sort of frantically fretting in the corner. I was like, well, what's going on? And he said, oh, Jatapong, we haven't registered him as a player. I was like, are you kidding me? He's in the starting 11. I've done all this prep. And you're telling me he's not being able to play? And I thought, right, okay, don't get too stressed. So I had to say to the substitute, said, right, okay, we haven't registered Jatapong. You're going to be in the starting 11. And went through a few of the tactics with him. And the next minute, the door opened 10 minutes before kick-off. And he said, we're okay, we've registered him now, he can play. So I had to go back to the player and say, I'm sorry, you're back on the bench. And this player was nearly in tears, thinking he was going to be playing. And Jatapong had already got changed. He'd walked out the change room. Then we had to find him to say, by the way, you need to get changed. Start 11 with registering. And I thought, my God, that was my first game, and we were playing the champions of the year previous, and I'm thinking, what bloody hell, this is terrible preparation to start the game, and we won the game 2-1, but it was a bit frantic, and I remember going home that night thinking, how unprofessional is this? And then I just had to laugh, and I thought, hang on a minute, we've just won the game, so it didn't really matter after all, did it? But yeah, I mean, I could probably write a book on some of the shenanigans that went on.
Yeah, that's lovely. It's a great story, and like you say, there must be hundreds more like that. Just before we finish, how closely do you follow the Thai League now, if at all?
No, I follow it. I mean, obviously, I don't see much of the action. I get a lot of the action on sort of on YouTube and Twitter and on Facebook and things. So, I keep abreast of what's sort of going on. I went to watch the national team. They played here in the UAE a few months ago, so I went over to watch that. So, yeah, I keep in touch with it. So, yeah, watching from afar, but keeping in touch.
That's great. Thank you very much. It's been really enjoyable. Thank you, Jason.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Dale.
Well, that was fantastic, yeah, and a real eye-opener. Like Jason says, you could probably write a book on some of those shenanigans that went on back in the day. And very important sometimes when people are moaning now about the state of Thai football to remember.
I mean, again, this is something we've said, isn't it, in previous episodes, is that it is easy to forget how far the game's come in this country in the past 15 years. But it's unrecognisable from when Jason was involved back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, fascinating interview. We could have chatted for much, much longer. But he has said he'll come on again, so we'll get some more stories when he's next on.
That'd be great, yeah.
Hello, I'm Steve Darby, ex-coach of Thailand, and you're listening to the new Thai Football Podcast. Okay, and something a little bit different this week. It's been a while since you've done one of your reviews. So would you like to introduce Rob's review?
It came to me the other week while I was out cycling in the countryside, how we can help people to get to games and everything. Here we go, my review of an app called Futbology.
Rob's review.
Oh, me reviewing apps, whatever next. That make people laugh from about 25 years ago. But it says everything about the app that I'm going to review. Futbology, which is spelled Futbology. They got me hooked. Formerly known as Groundhopper app, it was suggested to me by a friend, while ironically I was stranded in Dusseldorf, having lost my passport on a groundhopping holiday of my own. The app has got many purposes. It allows users to find the nearest games to them within 300 kilometres and has a picture and map of the venue to assist them to find it and judge whether it's worth going to. All Thai Cup and League games right down to T3 are included. Once you arrive at a game, you check in on the app, which is then saved in your stats, while seeing which other users are at the game, which can be useful to meet up with others, or alternatively to avoid certain people. If the ground or fixture isn't there that you're attending, you can request that they add the venue using the map on the app and filling in the simple online form for the admin to add the details, so others can then go and use it and tick in. You can add the names of the teams if they're not on the database already, along with any score of the game and any additional notes. Thousands of matches and results from around the world are already on the database, so you can add all your previous games and then you have a record of them, which can be immediately accessed, as well as all the venues that you've visited. Ideal for those who like to have all the stats at the fingertips and recall previous games that they've been to. You get awarded badges for completion of leagues and attendance of certain tournaments or special games. The app is available through the Apple or Google stores. There's an intro on YouTube for those who aren't sure about it and want to have a look before they buy it. I highly recommend it. The yearly fee for the premium app is 289 baht, or alternatively Cheap Charlies can have it for 29 baht a month. Give it a go. Ideal for finding where the football is and great for keeping all your records in one place on your phone. Futbology.
And I know there's quite a few people who use that already. Hopefully we'll get a few more now. If you do want more information on how to get the app, you can drop us a line and we'll let you know. It's a very simple process. As Rob said, there is a tutorial on YouTube as well. And it is very good, isn't it? Especially for avoiding people at games, Rob.
People can use it to avoid me, obviously. But yeah, it's great. I've got a log there of every game I've been to, which is fantastic. You know, sometimes when you're in the bar and you're discussing games and you're, well, when was that? Or what happened? What was the score? And you've got it all there on your phone.
Yeah, it's a great resource and very highly recommended. Sign up for that if you can and get to games, log all the matches you go to, and then you can, when you next bump into Rob at a T3 game, you can chat about stadiums you've visited or games you've seen together.
Yeah, I'm all for that. If you bring a beer with you, even more so.
Hi, I'm Sabina. I'm listening to a Thai football podcast.
So to close tonight, we've got another couple of listeners' questions. We've only got time for 2 this week because I think we're both very tired, aren't we, Rob, for different reasons. I've travelled halfway around the planet and you've been up since the early hours of this morning.
Yeah, mine's slightly easier, I have to say, Dale, but yeah.
Okay, so our 2 listeners' questions this week. The first one is from Graham Watson, and Graham says, what do you think is the best way to keep your cargo cold on the journey to an away game?
Fancy one of those lads from Tero asking a question like that. And it's quite apt, Graham, because I'm enjoying a Leo at the moment. My suggestion is your belly. Get it drunk.
Well, you'd think they'd know, wouldn't you? I'm surprised Graham has to ask that question. But we always used to take one of those big eskies whenever I used to go on the fan club bus to Chonburi away games. And you hinted at this, Rob. To be honest, the beer didn't stay in there very long. It was very quickly drunk. It wasn't in there long enough to keep cold. Anyway, Graham, I'm sure you could probably send in your own suggestions, what you guys do when you go to away games.
I'd rather not know.
Right, okay. Scratch that, Graham. Never contact us ever again. To finish the show today, we've got one final question, and this is from Samuel Thorley, who was a guest a couple of weeks ago. He says, how has football in Thailand changed over the years? Has the playing style changed? Has it improved or got worse?
You're the expert on this one, Dale. To me, as we just mentioned at the end of Jason's interview, the setup and the administration's probably better now. Playing style, I'm not so sure. I must be honest, I don't really go for that. I go for the day out.
The major changes we've already talked about. You know, it has become more organised. There's a lot more structure. It's a lot more professional. There's a lot more interest. There's a lot more information available, not just in Thai, but in English and French and German. So all that's changed. For the playing side of things, I think things have improved. Players seem a lot fitter. They're obviously looking after themselves better and being looked after better. We won't go into the national team shenanigans at this point, I don't think. But certainly the clubs are looking after the players better. Their approach is so much more professional. Playing style, again, this is something that gets talked about a lot. You know, the climate obviously has a lot to do with how teams play. You know, it's a lot slower. There's a lot of skill on show. That's always been the case. I think the Thai players, you know, are very skillful. And a lot of the foreigners that are coming in now are better than the ones we had 15, 20 years ago. There's no doubt about that. So I think overall it has improved, definitely. I mean, it's far from being perfect, but it is better. So to answer your question, Samuel, I think it's got better, it's got more professional and more entertaining.
It's a really difficult one, isn't it? It's like the one that gets thrown at us quite regularly about how would you compare it to leagues back home. And as you quite rightly say, the conditions, the weather, you know, the different styles, it's so difficult.
It is, and that comparison is something that's been discussed for years. Anyway, that's it. That's a wrap on episode 17. So huge thank you to everyone who's taken the time to send in reports, questions, stories. And it's so good, as Rob said earlier, to have different people contributing, covering different clubs. Keep sending stuff in. Any suggestions as well? We're open to anything. Yeah.
Anyway, folks, from me, have a great week wherever you are. Get back and watch your games, enjoy yourselves, and send us some stuff in.
That's it. Have a great week. Bye.